Okay. Three, two, fucking. All right, here we go. Three. God. Two, hold on. Cool. Ready? Tony. Okay, here we go. Three, two. I'm Josh Whitehead, and we are super excited this we have a pretty cool guest on. His name's Alan Coates. He's a friend of mine, a acquaintance of Tony's, or rather a bitter mortal enemy. But nonetheless, it was good to have him on, and we're going to get to him a little bit later. We had a talk with him. Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna have a little talk with him later, and yeah, I think that it's gonna be a good one. Tony, what do you think? Hey, Tony. I just realized this other recording here sound was still on that laptop from when I listened to it. Um, yeah, we'll just cut the beginning and start over here. Okay. Okay. Uh, uh, okay. I think that's you want to speed that up a little bit. Okay. Okay, here we go. We're gonna do it again. Take two. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Three, two. I'm Josh Whitehead, and we are super excited to have you on this week. And we had a really exciting guest. He's a friend of mine, a acquaintance of Tony's, or rather, a bitter mortal enemy. Um, I'm glad you think so. But yeah, we talked about Monsters Inc. this week, and just from now on, when we do have our guests on, we will be doing no Disney short, just because we want to conserve time. Basically, having the guest on is going to replace the Disney short from here on. So, Tony, uh, I understand that we have a comment from last week. right, and maybe like pioneering as well, like this idea of expanding your can necessarily globalism as a whole. Yeah, and on that note, we do have some uh, cool stuff, like Tony said, that we want to start engaging you guys a little bit more when you have comments. Please, please, please leave a comment or message us with your thoughts from previous episodes because we're more than happy to talk about them. The other part of that is, of course, that's on Facebook. So just sort of on Facebook at Front Porch Disney and comment, leave a message. The other half of that is we have a new thing. Obviously, Tony has a Twitter. Tony. I have a Twitter page at Front Porch Josh, and now the at Front Porch Disney is also available on Twitter. It's not Fropo anymore, but you can also just look up at Front Porch Disney and leave your comments there as well. The other part of that as well is a hashtag now. If you use the hashtag hashtag talks, we will first of all we'll mention you by name in the quick thank you to your Twitter handle, or I guess your name, and also we will enter your name into a drawing for some free stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's getting pretty good. Like, I apologize in advance for our conversation, but Tony's and Alan's was great. Yeah, I didn't do so much talking in the interview. Yeah, because of their and and an enemy with friends like these. Who needs an enemies? Um, but yeah, so really, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, like, comment, share with your friends, and also use the hashtag Front Porch Talks. Um, yep. Yeah, and on rate us on iTunes because that really helps a lot to boost a little bit more. That's what we're striving to do. But thank you to everybody that's been doing what you've been doing so far. We're really excited to have gotten this far and to have our shit together now. Um, uh, oh, and and also on that note, we do want to remind you that I just said shit, but we're going to be saying a lot more of shit. So keep in mind that this podcast is not for little ears. Yeah, tons of occult. Yeah, yeah. So, Tony, now that we got all the formalities out of the way, why don't we start off by talking about some cool trivia? We talked about Monsters Inc. Why don't you start us off? Okay. Yeah. So with all that stuff out of the way, I got some cool for you. They're not necessarily like questions, but there's some really interesting ones that I found on this movie. Um, so the first one, I don't know if you remember seeing this movie in theaters when it came out, Tony. Um, do you remember that? No? Okay. The trailers, or actually not this movie, rather Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, 2001. In the trailers for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, uh, was a trailer for Monsters Inc. And in that trailer, it was just Sully and Mike playing charades. And Sully, yeah, they were playing charades. Sully was pretending to be Harry Potter. It was for Harry Potter. It was before the movie Harry Potter, and he was pretending to be Harry Potter. And so Mike was like guessing all of these things. He's like Harry Steinman, or When Harry Met Sally, which is Billy Crystal was in When Harry Met Sally. But he couldn't figure it out, and eventually he gave up, and then they yeah, I mean, it was just like a weird little nod to Billy Crystal as when Harry. Yeah. Um, and the next trivia note that I have for you is, first of all, do you know who the actress was that played Boo? It's Mary Gibbs, and she was actually a 4-year-old girl at the time of the recording. Really 4 years, or maybe less than that, maybe like 3 years old. She was a super young girl, and in the filming, they had trouble getting her to while while they were trying to record her audio. And so what they did for Boo, all of Boo, they just sort of followed her around with recording equipment in the studio. All of the audio that we have for Boo in the entire movie is literally that she was saying as she was crawling around. Yeah. So that's pretty weird. The next one that I have is that I guess I can do this one as a question. Tony, did you know, or do you know role Billy Crystal, who is playing Mike Lazowski? Do you know what role Billy Crystal turned down previously for Disney? Like older previously. So he turned down the role of Buzz Lightyear. Yeah, so that would have been a like really weird Buzz Lightyear. But he was like, yeah, I don't want to do Buzz Lightyear. He got offered the position. He was like, I don't want to do Buzz Lightyear. And so he felt really bad afterwards. Like Toy Story was a huge success, and he felt really bad afterwards. So when for Monsters Inc. came to him and said, "We would like you to play a role," he was like, "I don't care what it is, just put me in it." Yeah, and it turned out to be a really great role for him. Um, the next one that I have is in the scene where they're doing in the very beginning when they're doing the simulation, child's bedroom, and the wall comes up, and they're like, new, like, what did he do wrong? To rewind the tape on the control board, you know what I'm talking about. So she rewind the tape and show them what he did wrong on the control panel. On the bottom left of the screen, on that control panel, there is a dial with the number 510-752-3000. That number. It is. It's the phone number for yeah. Yeah, and then the last one that I have is for Ted, the large chicken monster, where he takes 5 steps and he's to work. In the original script, they wanted it to be a Godzilla roar when he's like, "Hey Ted, how's your day going?" or whatever, and he's like, he does a chicken sound. It was originally supposed to be a Godzilla roar, and so when they were asking for rights from Toho Studios, the studio that produced Godzilla, Toho said no, and so they were like, "Well, a big fuck, we're going to replace it with a chicken sound." No, they aren't chicken feet. They're supposed to be Godzilla feet. No, they're supposed to be Godzilla feet. Ted is supposed to be Godzilla. Yeah, weird, right? But yeah, so that's and yeah, that's all the ones that I have. I do have one if you're interested. That's kind of a hard one. Uh, so when they are, or when Sully is throwing cereal into Boo's mouth, you get a brief glimpse at that cereal at the box. Do you know of that cereal are? Oh, good. Tell me. Okay, so I had to look it up, but it's super funny. So the ingredient list on the cereal that Sully feeds Boo is as follicles, includes suckers, in parentheses, sugar pods, gelatin, artificial flavor, artificial color, yellow 53 and 54, red 400, blue 21, plaid 16, and puce 30. Uh, Salt, seawater, naturally occurring mercury, barium, sulfuric acid, lead, bile, blood, sweat, tears, zinc oxide, vitamin D and F, anemone, brine shrimp, coral plankton, deadly pufferfish, depleted uranium, in parentheses, to preserve freshness. So just the best. Deadly in there, so it's not like it's not deadly to monsters. So that's my little fun fact for the week. Yeah, absolutely. So here is, like I said, we got to talk with Alan Coates, mortal enemy of Tony, and we'll get to that shortly. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about like animation styles and his time working at Disney World, which is really exciting. So with no further ado, here is that interview. And thanks again to Alan Coates. We're really excited to have you on. It was pretty great. And I apologize again for my sound quality in that. Yeah, I think it went pretty well. So Tony, before we get too much into anything else, there are some pretty great like actors in this movie. I mean, like we've got John Goodman playing Sully, Billy Crystal, like I said, playing Mike Wazowski, Steve Buscemi playing Randall. In preliminary casting, John Goodman, who was already cast as Sully, um, John Goodman insisted that Steve Buscemi be cast as Randall. Like he was refusing to be a part of the movie unless Steve Buscemi played Randall. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Jennifer Tilly plays Celia. She's in some other stuff. Yeah, Mike Frank Oz. That's pretty exciting for those of you who don't know who Frank Oz is. Tony. Yeah, so Frank Oz is pretty great. And then we have John Ratzenberger as well, the infamous player of tons and tons of Disney characters. He plays the Abominable Snowman in this one. He plays the big 18-wheeler truck in Cars. He's in a ton of stuff. He's in like so many Disney movies. So um yeah. That plays Roz. Yeah, actually, it was actually supposed to be a joke. His voice for Roz. It was unintentionally made to be her actual voice because yeah, Roz in the preliminary recording, he was like just joking around and had that like hello, and they were like dying laughing when they were doing through to the script, and they were like, no, we have to have that. That's going to be the real thing. Oh my god, so much comedy comes out of Roz. In like, I just love Roz's character so much. Um, themes for the movie. That it? Just okay. All right. Okay. Um, whatever. I guess my biggest theme that I picked up was Needleman and Smitty are underrated. Yeah, freaking Needleman and Smitty. For those of you who don't know their names, I'm sure that you can guess because their names are kind of weird. Needleman and Smitty are the two maintenance, the like nerdy teenager kind of maintenance guys. I just love them so much. They're so great. And obviously Roz. I like Roz a lot too. Yeah. And Tony, I know one of your favorite characters in the movie is Fungus. It, yeah. I figure you like because it's played by Frank Oz. Okay, so with that, I guess let's jump right in. So oh yeah, watch the movie. Pause. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. um, so hopefully you've watched it in that time that we were goofing off. Um, yeah, I was gonna make you listen to us without having watched the movie, which I understand that some of you do that anyway, but and that's fine. We appreciate you listening, but for the like best, you really should try and watch the movie as well. Uh, yeah, and for that matter, we apologize a little bit because it's going to be a short one probably. Then again, we said that about Homeward Bound, but uh, Yeah. Um, so before we get into anything else, this was what I was about to say before I cut you off. Um, the intro to this movie is so great. I just love this. Uh, if nothing else, just for the music. I just love the music. Um, like, yeah, and like the doors and the tentacles like popping out and closing the doors, and I really like it. I think I found the song. I found the soundtrack to this movie and just downloaded that song because I really like that song. Uh, so because they're caring, they scare because they so yeah. So like I really like the use of the doors and the foreshadowing for how important these doors are. Um, and then yeah, like I guess we should clarify that this episode is probably not going to be like others in where we're not going to like necessarily go scene by scene. Uh, like just because this with comedy quotes, there's so many great quotes in this movie. Like, yeah. What are your thoughts, Tony? Yeah. Well, and the other part of that is like he's so awkward. He's like he tries so hard to be scary when it comes to being in the bedroom, but once he's like standing there, it's like almost he's on a stage with a director, and he's like, "Please choose me." Uh, I really like that. I think that's really funny. Um, but yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, like the interesting thing that I find, especially in this beginning part, is that they're sort of just jumping into the story with just sort of like I like that a little bit that it's sort of saying the audience should already know what's happening at this point and showing you like the middle of a workday almost like this we're not going to give you any intro. We're not going to say, in the beginning, there were these doors, and the monster world had to find a way to power their society. And then they went to scream power, and here is a beginning of that story. No, they just sort of jump in and like show us the day to day. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, and I agree. A way to start the movie. Um, the trailer though, this commercial that they put on for Monsters Inc. Um, I really like the training montage that Sully and Mike do. I think this is a really great sequence. This training montage where Mike's like uh, softly talking and then plug, um, and like yeah, and he's like I don't think I ordered a wake up call. Uh, well, you got one. Now let's get to it. Um, and I really like the scary monsters don't have plaque line. No, they don't. Scary monsters, especially one like Sully who bares his teeth. Scary monsters don't have plaque. Yeah, they really they want to push home that scary monsters do not have plaque. They've got some really white, scary teeth. Um, they really want to make that known. Um, yeah, and like this whole training montage is really great for me. Um, sort of flow immediately into that commercial, which does the exposition that had implied, um, but we didn't know the why behind it, which I think is really good. They needed to do it sometime, and I'm glad that it wasn't just like thrown in at the beginning with a narrator. Is all. Um, so I like that a lot. Do you say rolling? You mean rolling blackouts? I don't think that I've ever heard of a rolling brownout. Well, I don't think it is. I think that when you say rolling brownouts, the thing, like the equivalent of rolling blackouts, but for sewage. Whatever. Yeah, and geese. Um, I hope you spit that beer. I hope that was a spit take. Yeah. Um, so we kind of move along a little bit, and we get to that car scene where they're walking. I think that's really funny. Where he's like, and like I just throughout the rest of the movie too. I really love the way that these two communicate with each other. Um, it like I see a lot of exactly like they really are that way even from the beginning when we have the training montage. It feels like um they're like they well um and like he's like I bought the car like um interesting fun fact. Yeah. um I really like too that they as a little fun fact, another fun fact about this movie. There are so many fun facts about this movie, Tony. um yeah, the fun fact that I have is you remember the Disney short? There was a Disney short that came out regarding Mike's new car. It was called Mike's New Car. Um, yeah, the other one, not the red one that he has in this movie. It's like a six-wheeled other car that he bought. That short was supposed to be at the end of this movie. They like where he buys a new car. He's got this other car. Um, and like in the short, they're like, uh, figure out the car. Yeah, and it like explodes on them. And he's like, okay, we'll just walk. He kind of just resigns to the fact that they're probably going to end up walking anyway. Um, I guess because it was too long. Yeah, I think that was probably the reason is that it was they had the bloopers, and they just made it. Yeah, they just made it as a short, and it was fine. Like it was a good short. The other part that I noticed in this scene in particular um, was while they're sparring, he says to Sully, you've been jealous of my good looks since the fourth grade, pal. Which is funny because in Monster University, the prequel, we find out that he meets Sully at the end of the movie, um, for the first time, and so it's not like they've known each other since the fourth grade. Yeah, well, like they didn't know they were gonna do. Yeah, yeah. I know somebody that is, uh, to quote the movie Sahara, poor guy's been in my shadow for years. Uh, I'm paraphrasing, of course, because I don't know how many years he actually says in the movie. So, yeah, he's poor guy's been in my shadow since kindergarten. Uh, uh, um, the movie Sahara, just the movie Sahara. Well, yeah, all Matthew McConaughey movies. Uh, all right, all right, all right. Uh, uh, where we're driving and like have one hand up, just rolling our fingers together and jumping in a pool in a suit. Um, um, yeah, I feel like we were getting off topic a little bit. Celia, um, played. I really like her character a lot. I think that she's like not supposed to necessarily be like a super smart character. I think she's like supposed to be like a really ditzy secretary. Um, I think like in my opinion, she's basically just a plot point for Mike's. Yeah, no. Um, yeah, like when they're at she's like, I don't understand. Why are you talking like this? Because you got to think that she figured that he was proposing, take her to this, and maybe he was going to. What if he was going to, and then Sully messed it up? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Okay, whatever. It's not important. It was a fan theory. Didn't pan out. Yeah, it was whatever. To all of you listeners who are criticizing my fan theory, I appreciate your criticism, and it will be noted. Dick. Right. Yeah, I like that one. That he's got to go into this restaurant now and be like really cool about it because he's got Celia with him. Be like for or one table for Googly Bear. Yeah, I think that's really funny. Um, and then he's got to borrow some odorant When you got some wet dog. Yeah, yeah, no low tide. Low tide is the ideal situation. The smell of low tide. Maybe that's just me. I think that that's a pretty smell. Well, no, it doesn't smell, and a little bit like dead fish, but like still like ocean. Oh my god. Oh god, I love Roz. And he's like, always watching. Yeah. Uh, it's super good. Uh, Roz is just the creepiest of all the creepies. Um, but she's just so freaking funny in this movie, man. Some of my favorite quotes in this movie come from Roz. So like, yeah, we've got that interaction with Roz. Um, he's like leaving again to go to Harryhausen's, and he realizes that he has forgotten to do his paperwork again. Which, for the record, it's like a daily thing. How are you constantly forgetting? Um, well, yeah, but like he's supposed to be part of this like dream team. He's not carrying his weight. The other stuff that's not the scaring. I mean, I guess maybe that. Yeah, yeah. Now he's thinking that he's feeling entitled because he's got Sully. I mean, I guess I don't know. Yeah. Do you think they make the doors though? Well, like how do so this is a big plot question for me. Is like a how do they know which doors to connect to through the interdimensional portal? Like for all they know, when they interdimensional portal end up in the parents' bedroom. Um, on the other side, maybe a monster that's barely human looking enough to wear like a hat. Yeah, I, the cone heads. Um, they just like wear a cowboy hat and be done with it. I mean, I guess right? Like that would be the only thing that makes sense because with every house that goes up, they're like people are building houses and having kids in those houses. Construction team. Yeah, when they're building the house, they're like nobody. You don't know. I don't know. I thought I had a solution where they build the house and there's one guy that's whole job is this one closet. He's like, nobody look at this closet. Is it going to be this one? Okay, nobody look at this door. No, not even a little bit. Um, I think that would be really funny though. That's how I choose to explain it. Um, right. Well, yeah, and you got to think that this is like a thing that is like brought about through through like the media. That like Water News is like, yeah, Water News is using propaganda to say like it's dangerous. We don't want to have like the very first instance that we see Water News, he's like it could let in a child, but and it feels like he's seen this before. Like we don't want this, but then on the news later when Boo gets through, they're like for the first time ever in monster history, a child has entered into the monster world. Yeah, man. The government knows. Yeah, like she's probably seen it before. Yeah, well, yeah. So, and the other part of this is you got to think world of monsters. It's not just Monstropolis. There's an entire world of monsters. And yet the monster one fact the entire monster world, or or maybe like slices. They do like little bits because when they do the all time scare records, are using the Eastern Seaboard. Like we see that on the big Wall Street style board, right? Um, and so the question only using doors to Earth because, well, like so I mean like because this one factory can't power the entire monster world. It's not possible. Well, yeah, like maybe other parts of the monster world have other specifically go to another dimension. Yeah, or another planet. Yeah, but like even then, who's to say that that other planet isn't, or like who's to say that they're human like? Because like if Sully on that planet, then why would they be scared of Sully? I mean, I guess at that point it's just a guy in your closet. That's still kind of scary, but yeah, I think we're getting off track again. Um, it's in our Matthew McConaughey. We'll talk about that at the Matthew McConaughey podcast. Um, so poor, yeah. Um, I gotta say too, like poor Georgie, man. Georgie gets the worst rap in this freaking movie. The guy, he's just trying to, he's having a great day in every instance, but he just keeps getting shit on. Yeah. Um. So moving on a little bit, we get to Boo comes out. They take Boo and like go to the sushi restaurant and scoop her up in the rice container. Yeah. Poor George. Sully? I don't understand what you're talking about. Why Sully? Um, uh, and then also before even at the sushi restaurant, I really like the line where Boo's like, Sully's backed up in a corner on the lockers, and she's got the big like helmet on her head, and she's like looking around, and she can't see anything, and she's like, "I'm Tiggerlet," uh, which I'm guessing is a mix between Tigger and Piglet. Uh, yeah. So that was really funny. Uh, and then they take her home, yada yada yada. Poor Celia gets put in the back of a CDA van. He lifted me in the air and shook me like a doll. Yeah, I thought that was really good. But they take her home in the apartment, does not have her touch them, which I don't understand at this point. Um, yeah, and like, so there's no real point in avoiding her at this point. Other, um, and so Gene, um, he says, she's like twirling and falling on the ground. Oh, you just wait until he falls asleep. Yeah, right. uh, yeah, and so like when they this upcoming scene where Sully's like throwing um those circles of uranium at Abu, um he's like he and Mike are talking of their relationship that I really enjoy their dynamic. And this scene in particular, Tony, I'm not sure why, made me think of you a lot. Um, I guess specifically the line where Sully, in this scenario, being you and Mike being me, um, which you guys that know us know that that's comparison. Uh, he's like, I don't know, Mike. She looks tired, and Mike is like, well, why don't you put it to bed while I think of a plan? Like he's trying so hard. We use a complex system of spoons. Giant slingshot, too conspicuous. Detroit horse, too Greek. Which leads you to believe, yeah, yeah. Um, sorry, Alan. Um, yeah, right. But yeah, so like I don't you and I in this scenario. I guess mainly because we get the impression that up to this point, um, Mike's just been coming up with a lot of ideas, and maybe the first few were good, but Sully keeps like punching holes in his ideas. Fine, balls it up because like the entire trash can is full of balls of paper. And so poor Mike has just been going to town on ideas, and Sully's like, no, and playing with. Yeah, what are we gonna do? Just waltz right in, and then they will. Um, yeah, when they know some people that have been banished. Uh, Bigfoot. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Foreshadow. I do want to say that the scene when Sully is putting Boo to bed, um, and she's like pointing at the closet, things gonna come out of the closet. And he goes to open the door of the closet. It's empty. I know that it was just a blooper, but every time I see this scene, even in the movie, I can't help but imagine Roz just like how. And the same goes for when Georgie gets shaved the first time, and it comes back down, and there's like a disco ball effect, and she's like, "Hello." Like, I wish that that were the real scenario. Yeah, and we'll get more into the bloopers at the end. Yeah, so they waltz into the factory. They actually do it. Um, and the chair. Uh, Materials for building the costume. Yeah. I do have I do have one quote before you jump in. They're walking back into the or Sully's like, "Hey, did you lose weight or a limb?" Yeah. You put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. Oh, the the scare floor will be painted. Yeah, I thought that was a really funny Billy Crystal. Um, um, and while this is happening with Mike, too, that Sully is following the lead that he has, which leads us to Needleman and Smitty, who we're talking about. He's like, if you talk to me like that again, we're through. How'd you like my Needleman impression? Thank you. And you know my mom. Uh, I really like that. He's talking about his mom. But he sees Sully sees the one eyeball that's plucked off go into the trash compactor, and this just like horror of poor Boo getting smashed and chopped and crushed. Scary of a scene. It's so good. This, yeah. So, how many kids you got in there? All the kids going, Mike Wazowski. It's a chant. uh, yeah, 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 for sure. I thought that was really funny. I got a good kick out of that one, especially the line, "How many kids you got in there?" I thought that was really funny. Uh, and so ultimately, yeah, um, he follows Randall's instructions, and he's like, you don't believe me? I'll go and jump on the bed myself. And there's this like scene where Randall almost sees Sully and Boo and kidnaps Mike. The Scream Instructor. The Scream Extractor. Yeah. Which ultimately Randall thinks that he's going to take credit for, but Fungus built the thing, so Fungus is probably going to get credit for it. um, I should probably check the Scream intake valve. Um, um, yeah. Um, so sort of jumping ahead a little bit, they find Water News. They tell Water News. Um, yeah, 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 because he sees it on the still a part of the problem. Yeah, yeah, and I think that he realizes that specifically when he's like, "Boo, don't be scared," and then he looks up and sees this stilled image of himself, and I don't know before. Um, yeah, right, and not only because he sees that Boo's afraid, but also because he sees this still image and he understands this is scary. Like I don't want to be a monster. I want to be a person. Um, which is really a big part of his change because he was already growing affect. Like for him, it was just about this one girl, and now he realizes this is a grander problem than just one girl. Um, Still a bad guy, yeah. Um, and so they tell Water News about Randall, and he's playing along like, "Oh, that's terrible," and then and pulls up the door. Yeah, first things first. Let's take care of the child, which we take to mean he's going to help her, but what it really means is Leatherface. Um, and so yeah, and so he banishes Sully and Mike. Uh, at this point, they've been banishing monsters to different locations. I guess because there's some prior planning. Uh, and so he just used like the most recent banishment door, which just happens to be the Abominable Snowman's. Um, Also, by the way, still put. I want to mention again, John Ratzenberger played the Abominable Snowman. Awesome, awesome job. Gotta love John Ratzenberger. Can't overstate that enough. Uh, Specifically, and as Alan said, his favorite adult joke in this movie was the snowball lemon joke. But I would actually contest that. I think that my favorite adult joke of this movie is also still with the Abominable Snow lemon snow cones. I think that my favorite adult joke is the very subtle joke where inside Titan's cave is well, like Sully makes a big sled out of a bunch of skis and skiing equipment of things, which leads you to believe that all of the stories about the Abominable Snowman, like killing people in the Himalayas and taking their equipment, is totally a real thing. The Abominable Snowman is just up there killing people and taking their skiing equipment. Like, yeah. um, yeah, the guy is really a ruthless killer. Uh, um, right. Nothing matters except for Boo. Yeah. 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 And he has a plan involving yak's milk. Um, but I don't know if you know this, Tony, but yeah, milk and a yak ain't exactly a pick. Spend the time and pick out the hairs. It's delicious. um, I really like that joke too. That was one of my favorites as well. Um, right. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, the difference is that Randall and Mike and Sully do it. They've made Boo laugh, and so all the doors are active. But when, for that matter, when Mike also does it afterwards to catch up to him, how do they know which door to go through? Which door is active? Um, yeah, like really. I mean, that's what it really does boil down to. Um, right, like you'd think. Um, I think that's really weird as well that they just happened upon a door that was active um, twice in two separate occasions. They happened upon a door that was active, uh, and then obviously like that we get to that other scene where Sully just happens to get there as soon as Boo needs saving. He saves her. Mike saves him. Um, I'm being attacked. I'm not attacking you. um, Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but they can like look up on the board and see that that's not true because Randall has been missing for this entire workday. Yeah. But anyway, so they get to this door scene, right, where they all they're Mike, Boo, Sully, and then Randall behind them. They're just sort of like flipping through doors, right? I think that this is really weird. I mean, obviously, like they do sections like they did the East Coast, so it's possible that all of the doors of a put together, like that's possible. Yeah, um, in this big hall of doors, but at the same time, like they're just wildly jumping. Um, yeah, like and they're just sort of jumping around wildly, and on top of that, they're jumping into doors that just don't happen to have or don't happen to have kids that are asleep in there. But no, but like they're changing time zones too because they go to Paris, they go to yeah. So yeah, so that's pretty weird. And they like go through the houses too. Like they have to get out of the house to get to another door to come out through a door. So they're just jumping, hoping that nobody is in the houses. And they get super lucky because the entire time nobody's in any of those houses. Right. Right. Yeah, I think that that's a big turning point for Boo, especially. Um, and it's not like we can really talk about character development for Boo because um, she's a baby, but she does have character development. Like this is a big scene for her. Yeah, like this is her one character flaw, being afraid of Randall, and it's resolved. So exactly. Well, I guess because they just happen to choose a house where they're regularly getting gators. And, um, a lot of luck in this movie, um, and just sheer dumb luck. Um, and so they they manage to get um, find Boo's door, um, and they get pulled back by Waternoose. And they have this super good plan that Mike is gonna take the kid's outfit and run and lead them to the recording chamber. Um, I don't know if Sully's intention was to have Waternoose follow him, but um, that's the way it turned out. Well, yeah. So, like, do you think that they knocked over those things, hoping that only Waternoose was going to follow them? I mean, like it just happened that they did it late enough that none of the other people turned around as well. Just Water News. Um, yeah, yeah. Um, and so like he goes to jail, and Roz turns out to be the one. Yeah. Um, and then he's like, "Well, we have to put her back." And Sully's like, "Yeah, I know." And then she's like, "Well, we need to get a door shredder." And so like this realization comes upon us that, oh shit, like he's never gonna see her again. Um, and so there's this like heart wrenching good, not so much from Mike. It's just a regular old, go on, go throw up. Um, that that little goodbye, but the goodbye from Sully is very very dramatic, very heart wrenching scene. Because for Boo, she's like, I've spent all this time in your world. You've showed me everything. We're in my bedroom now. This is my domain. This is my kingdom. Let me show you everything that. And she's like, yeah, she's like handing him um, tons of little toys and stuff. Yeah, yeah, Boo, yeah, Bo Peep. Um, that's right. But like, yeah, she's just like handing him all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, now. Um, uh, you go to um yeah, I think that's really that like it is really a dramatic scene, and they get to um he like tucks her in, he's like, okay, um thank you for everything. And yeah, and like and she thinks it's a game, so she gets back out of bed, and he's like, no. um and I think it's at this point where she's like understanding what's happening, because before she thought it was a game. She finally realizes what happens and like gives him a genuine hug, and then he leaves. Right. Um, it's like a real wrenching scene. Um, yeah. But like, yeah. Um, yeah. Well, like I really like too that they kind of address the problems as they're walking out of the company. Mike's like, yeah, thing. We displaced 1,000 people from their jobs. That pretty much gonna destroy society because we took away their energy source. But we did the right thing, huh? And then Sully's like, well, maybe we have a solution. And it just happens to work. Um, like, honestly, if I were a kid who was trying to go to sleep, though, and somebody came in and started doing stand up comedy in my bedroom, I would probably still be scared. Um, Especially if it was a monster that just comes in my bedroom, sits on a stool, and starts doing stand up comedy. Um, I think it's still scary. Yeah, right. That's not what you're shooting for anymore, though. I like. I think that that's still a major plot point, a major plot, but it works. Whatever. They don't think too much about it. They start making people laugh and having a ton of fun at and like not everybody's funny. Yeah, yeah, or like store it. Yeah. Join us there. So yeah, but like I think you're right. I mean, ultimately, like I wonder what the shelf life is of a child's laughter. Um, can they just like stack these when I don't know, in like a out or something where they need energy? Um, I guess it just depends on what the shelf life is. Um, anyway, they yes, okay, whatever. Um, so they cut ahead a little bit, and Sully's sad, yada yada yada. Um, and Mike has a present for him, and it is the newly assembled door, and he's got all these door out of wood chips. Um, yeah, he repairs because he cares. Um, that was on off the dome, off the old dome. Hope you like that one. Uh, uh, but A, this is super impossible with these wood chips, and B, he's got all these cuts on his hands with like bandages, but nobody has made note of it. Like not doing his job for like weeks to do this job. And nobody like questions it, like where's he going, and what's on his hands, and also why does he have a bag full of door shreddings? um Whatever, don't think about it. He puts it back together and gives Sully the final piece, pushes it in. Yeah, that last scene of like look on Sully's face. um and you get Yeah, and you got to think too, though, that like some time has to have passed, right? Yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. No, some time has passed, and so like I guess do you what at what point do you stop remembering your monsters? Um, okay, yeah, I mean, I guess. Um, and I guess at that point they're not really monsters in the closet anymore; they're more like imaginary friends. Um, and so yeah, whatever. And then we get to the bloopers, these freaking bloopers, and the song. The if I didn't have you, uh, yeah. And if I were handsome, it could happen. These dreams do come true. Uh, it's a super nice song. It's actual John Goodman, and Billy Crystal just having a blast, uh, and that's really nice. But then we get to the bloopers. I love the bloopers. What's your favorite? What's your favorite blooper, Tony? Just all of the instances of Roz doing the holla. uh, I think that's up there for me. That's probably my favorite, especially the closet one. I think that one's my favorite. I would say my other favorite is when he's they're like Sully's throwing Fruit Loops at Boo, and she's like missing, and she like flies backwards to catch it. Uh, and this is like unique to a few Disney. Bugs Life does it. Monsters Inc. does it. That's pretty much it. Like I can't think of any others that do the blooper reel. Yeah, yeah. And so like this is. Oh yeah, Toy Story does. Yeah. I think that's unique to a select few, and this one does really, really well with them. Um, the go on, go throw up. Um, uh, and then of course, like the actual play, um, where Mike's mom is in the written, produced, or written, directed, and starring Mike Wazowski, and produced, and produced by Mike. What? Okay, he gets cut off, and then we get to hear the finished result singing earlier, and basically just to care. Yeah. Love it. That's really great. Um, and yeah, like I just love the play at the end. The play is like really, really good. And it's just telling the story of what happened essentially. Um, and even at the end too, where they're doing the final number, one of the guys is wearing the sushi restaurant outfit, which means that he was like a prominent character. Mike's play was the sushi guy, the character. Uh, anyway, that's all the notes I have. Tony, you got? Okay. So again, we want to say a special thanks to Alan Coates for joining us. We really, or at least I did. We especially the animation stuff with this Sully's hairs was a painstaking process. So special props to the animation team and also props to Alan. Thank you again. The other thing, you can't say it enough. Like and follow us on iTunes. Make sure you rate us there because that really helps boost our range of people. Weird story for you regarding this. I'm currently driving with Uber, right? And I haven't told you this yet, but it's a neat little story. I'm currently driving with Uber, and I met this girl the other car, and it was a really long drive. It was like a 25-minute drive, and we were talking, and we got on the subject of cosplaying, and I mentioned how you dressed as Ursula when we did Pie Villain at NC State, and she got a kick out of that. And then she how they dressed as Disney characters once, and I brought up the fact that I run a Disney podcast, and she was like, and she knew my name was Josh. She was like, "Is your name Josh Whitehead?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so turns out had been listening to the podcast. She was like, "Are you with on the front porch?" Yeah. So really weird. We're pretty cool. Yeah. Literally dozens of fans. But yeah, that's super cool, right? But anyway, yeah. Definitely, if you get the chance, please, please, please rate us on iTunes because that's going to help a lot. And we appreciate everybody that's done it so far. And subscribe to our page too on iTunes. Facebook at Front Porch Disney. Follow us there and comment, message with your anything that you want to add to the story or previous episodes as well. We're happy to talk about it on the next episode. Lastly, besides Facebook, like, share, comment there. Again, Twitter, our page is at. You can find Tony at Front Porch Tony, me at Front Porch Josh, and don't forget to use our Twitter handle hashtag Front Porch Talks to enter into a drawing to possibly get some free stuff and to get your episode of this very, very show. So yeah, I hope to have some more guests on. Oh yeah, for next week, getting our shit together, Tony. Uh, so as a little exciting news for next week, because we're getting our shit together, we do have another special guest for next week, and that's going to be our mother, because next week is Mother's Day. Hooray! So we're going to have our mom on. We're going to be talking about Fox and the Hound, and I think it's going to be fun. Tony, what do you think? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's the way it goes, being the younger sibling. Um, Mom gets um, on, and happy Mother's Day in advance. It's so yeah, follow us then. We'll see you on Facebook, and thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.